Boy, do I have a treat for you today. Granny's chicken biscuits. First thing you're gonna add to the bowl, to your bowl, add 3 ounces of cream cheese and 2 tablespoons of butter, both room temperature. And we're just gonna mix that together. And it's not very hard if it's all room temperature. And I'm gonna go ahead and add about 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. I'm just gonna give it a sprinkle on there. And about 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper. A little dusting. Mix that in good. I'm gonna add like a heaping tablespoon of grated onion. And 2 tablespoons of milk. And I have let this milk get close to room temperature too. You're gonna need 2 cups of cooked chicken. I've chosen to use this canned chicken that I had on the shelf. I've used these 3 cans because I feel like that's about 2 cans. And I have been straining that because I don't wanna add extra liquid in. Now I'm just gonna mix this up good. Trying to break up some of the bigger hunks of the chicken. This is one of our favorite family recipes. It just says Granny because she always made these chicken biscuits. Do you have a family favorite recipe that makes you think of one of your loved ones the same way? Tell us about that in the comments below. The last thing we're gonna add is 1 tablespoon of pimento. And I'm gonna try and not get a bunch of juice in there. You know what? I'm gonna put it through my strainer to make sure I don't get a bunch of juice in it. Put a little bit more. I'm saving the pimentos for last because they're more delicate, and with all that stirring, it might actually break them up or smush them too much. So that's why I've saved that to last. And so I'm just gonna gently mix this in. Now, our chicken mixture is ready. It's time for our biscuits. I'm using homemade biscuit mix, but you can use canned biscuits, boxed biscuit mix, or you can make homemade biscuits. I've used all 3 of those and they all turned out great. Tommy is putting a link down in the description below to my homemade biscuit mix. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get my biscuits cut and ready for my mixture. I am going to press them out a little bit thinner than I typically would, and I'll probably use a little bit more flour than I typically would. For the sake of time in this video, I went ahead and mixed up my biscuit mix ahead of time, but like I said, there's a link in the description below if you want to check out that video. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and cut them. Not too thin because I am going to press them out just a little bit more. All right, I'm just going to gently press these out a little bit. So we're going to stuff these biscuits. All right, I'm going to take about a tablespoon of mixture and put it in the middle. And I'm going to bring my sides up. And I'm going to tell you this, it is much easier to do this with canned biscuits than it is with homemade. With canned biscuits, I'm able to pull them up like this, and they all look really cute, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that done with my homemade biscuit mix. All right, I'm going to clean my hand off because I don't want to get this on my edge that I'm trying to close. Now let's see how this goes. Thinking it may be a little easier if I pick it up. I'm thinking I may just leave these like that. Well, I guess it kind of comes together. Canned biscuits just stretch easier than homemade biscuits do. And of course, I've tried to fill them to the brim, get plenty of stuffing in them. One thing that is so great about these chicken biscuits is that they freeze very, very good. And I'll show you that at the end of the video, how I put them up for the freezer. But also, they make great snacks. You know, it's just Tommy and I, but that's okay because they will stay in the freezer for at least 6 months. But they're not going to last that long because the reason I'm making these is because all of my kids are going to be home, and so I'm going to surprise them and have some of Granny's chicken biscuits. But I won't have to make them while they're here because I'll have them ready to go in the freezer. Now, right before you put them into a 425-degree preheated oven, you're going to want to brush the tops with butter. Butter makes everything better, right? We think so here anyway. You're going to cook them for about 10 minutes and check them. You want them to be lightly browned like you would normally eat a biscuit. While those are baking, I'm going to hurry up and make some more biscuit mix because I have all of this left. So this recipe will make about 30 to 32 biscuits. Just got these out of the oven. They cooked for about 13 minutes. And I'm going to let them cool here. And once they're completely cool, I'm going to show you how I package them for the freezer. I'm going to go ahead and cut one open where you can see in the inside while the other ones are cooling. This brings back so many good memories. Don't forget to leave us a comment about a recipe that's very nostalgic for you too. Once your biscuits are completely cool, you can then freeze them. And I'm putting one Ziploc bag inside of another where I can double bag them. And just slide them in like this. You could have frozen them on the cookie sheet and then bagged them later, but with the way I do things, I forget to come back and bag, so I prefer to go ahead and have them bagged up. And then I'm going to go ahead and zip my inside bag, try and get as much air out as possible. And I fold that in, and then I'm going to zip my outer bag. The double bagging is key to prevent freezer burn. You can take your cookie sheet then or your cooling rack, lay them on it where they'll stay nice and flat, and just set it in the freezer like this. Don't forget, the way I make my biscuit mix is down in the description. Watch that next.